Hey guys and girls, and welcome back to the #1 channel on real estate. Now before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, and if you enjoy the video, make sure you subscribe and be part of the Daily Hit family. Now let's get back to the video. Buying and selling a home is hard, but it can be even harder if you're trying to do both at the same time. If you're thinking about buying and selling at the same time, it's important to make sure that you don't fall into any of these common traps. In this video, I'll offer 5 tips on how buying and selling at the same time can actually save you money in the end. These tips are easy enough for anyone who wants to try them out, even if you're not an expert in real estate transactions. 5 tips to buy and sell a home at the same time. To be a first-time home buyer again. It's certainly easier to buy a home when you don't have another mortgage on your back at the same time. If you're planning to go from first-timer to repeat buyer, you already know things are about to get a lot more difficult. Unless you're a true house collector, selling your home to buy a new one is the only option, adding another layer of anxiety to an already stressful house buying experience. In a perfect world, you'd buy a new house and then move in before dealing with the stress of selling your old one. But for most people, that's an impossible goal. Not only is it expensive because you'll be paying 2 mortgages at the same time, but if you keep your old house, sellers of your prospective new home may be quick to judge you. While selling your current home and buying a new one all at once may appear to be a real estate nightmare, it might be your best option. Here's what you need to know to make sure both processes run as smoothly as possible. Number 1. Know the market first. Before you begin seriously looking for a new home or putting your present one on the market, you should have a firm grasp of the local housing market and the area where you intend to buy. Is the market biased towards purchasers or sellers? Only then will you be capable of coming up with a solid strategy. In real estate, the best strategy for you may change based on who is in the stronger position, the seller or the purchaser. It's a good idea to be conservative by keeping your mind open to many buying possibilities. If it's a seller's market, you could quickly sell your property, but the houses you look at with your real estate agent might not be up to par. If you can broaden your search and discover several houses that interest you, you'll be less likely to get stuck if a purchase falls through. Selling your present home also won't leave you stranded. Hire an appraiser and sell your old house fairly to protect yourself. If it's a buyer's market, you need to be aware that your house will face a lot of competition. You may not have the time or energy to update your home, but you can at least offer a fair price that will pique buyers' interest. Now is decidedly not the time for delusions of grandeur. Because you wouldn't lower the price after 2 months, you'll be paying double mortgages for 2 extra months. 2 very long months. Number 2. Plan your schedule carefully. You might be wondering, should you try to buy first and then sell, or vice versa? Both have their benefits and drawbacks. It's easier to get a mortgage if you sell your property first, but it also means you'll need to look for a short-term place to stay. If you plan to buy first, you'll be able to move quicker, but it'll also affect your debt-to-income ratio, which makes it more difficult to obtain a new mortgage, not to mention the difficulty of balancing 2 monthly house payments. Also, if all of your funds are invested in your old house, making a down payment might be difficult. It's like walking a tightrope, says Gary DeMoro, a real estate agent in New York and the head of Susquehanna's national sales team. He's not just talking about scheduling. Your finances will be on a very thin edge. When deciding whether to sell or buy first, think beyond how can I make the move as simple as possible. Instead, ask yourself, is it possible for me to take on 2 mortgages? What if my house sells for less than the asking price? Whatever path you take, be sure you're ready to accept the consequences, either having to store your stuff and rent temporarily or bearing the financial cost of 2 mortgages. Number 3. Don't rely on timing. There are so many external factors when buying and selling a home at the same time, DeMoro points out. I've yet to see it really work smoothly and effectively. Remember, you might not be the only one in this situation. For every seller, there's a buyer, and for each buyer, there's a seller. When looking at your master plan from above, things may appear to be going swimmingly, but it doesn't consider the varied fortunes of the individuals you'll be dealing with. Closings are frequently delayed. Your customers may have trouble obtaining their mortgage, and your home inspector could discover problems that need to be addressed before you can move in. You're relying on the seller of the property you're buying to be ready to move in tandem with the buyer of your home, DeMoro adds. Even if you've planned to sell your property first and rent while purchasing, know that even the most well-intentioned plans can go wrong, and that you could find yourself juggling both mortgages. Preparing yourself for this, however remote possibility ahead of time, will ensure a smoother transition. Number 4. Know your financial solutions. If you sell first, the process is simple, taking on the additional cost of rental between properties. However, you might also wish to explore the possibility of a rent-back agreement, in which you bargain with the lenders and purchasers to keep the property for up to 60 or 90 days, often in exchange for a lower sales price or rent paid to the purchasers. Finding a new home is stressful, and this might help you save time looking for one. Here are the two most popular options for buyers. First, contract contingency. Buyers may request that their new home purchase be contingent on the successful sale of their old one, though this may not be a viable option in a competitive market. If the seller of your chosen property has been unable to attract interest, this may be a wonderful bargain for everyone, as long as you can persuade them that your house will sell quickly. Second, bridge loan. If you don't have a lot of cash for a second down payment, a bridge loan allows you to own two houses at the same time. This is a fantastic strategy if you plan to sell your house first and use the money to buy the second. It's a short-term loan that's intended to be repaid after the sale of your primary home. Number 5. Don't let fear rush you. Don't let anxiety drive you toward a poor decision if your home has been sold but you haven't found a new place to live yet. Typically, DeMoro advises his customers to anticipate a short-term rental in advance so that they don't get stressed and pushed into doing something that they're not enthusiastic about. They shouldn't make a purchase because they felt compelled to by the pressure of time. Have you found the ideal home on time? If so, that's fantastic. But don't feel that you have to give up important things in order to obtain that home. Also, don't accept a bid that you feel is too low because you're caught up in two mortgages. If you have a temporary apartment set up, you're less likely to compromise. It can be tough to buy and sell a home at the same time, but with careful planning, it can be done. In this video, we've outlined some tips that should make the process run as smoothly as possible. Follow these steps and you should have no problem finding a buyer for your current home while simultaneously looking for a new one. Good luck!